Have you ever sprayed your favorite perfume and wondered what is actually inside that beautiful bottle? Most people focus on the scent, the floral notes, the fruity aromas, the luxurious feeling that comes with wearing a fragrance they love. But hidden within some perfumes is a group of chemicals that has become the subject of growing scientific concern. These chemicals are called phthalates. For decades, phthalates have been used in fragrances to help scents last longer. They are often invisible to consumers because companies can simply list them under the word fragrance on product labels. Yet, human research has linked certain phthalates to a range of health concerns that may affect everything from hormones and fertility to pregnancy and child development. So the question is simple. Is your perfume harming your health? Let's examine what human research has actually found. One of the biggest concerns surrounding phthalates is their ability to interfere with hormones. Hormones act as the body's chemical messengers. They regulate growth, metabolism, reproduction, mood, and many other essential functions. Human studies have found that higher levels of phthalate exposure are associated with changes in hormone levels, particularly reproductive hormones such as testosterone. Scientists classify many phthalates as endocrine-disrupting chemicals. This means they can interfere with the body's natural hormonal signaling system. When hormones become disrupted, the effects can spread throughout the body, influencing numerous biological processes. This hormonal disruption has led researchers to investigate another major concern: fertility. Several human studies have found that men with higher phthalate exposure often show poorer sperm quality. Researchers have reported associations with lower sperm counts, reduced sperm movement, abnormal sperm shape, and decreased testosterone levels. These findings have been observed across multiple populations and research studies. While scientists continue to investigate the exact mechanisms involved, the evidence suggests that long-term exposure to certain phthalates may negatively affect male reproductive health. Women may also be affected. Research has linked phthalate exposure to hormonal imbalances that may influence reproductive function. Some studies have reported associations between higher exposure and reduced fertility, although the evidence is still evolving. Perhaps even more concerning are the findings involving pregnancy. Pregnancy is one of the most sensitive periods of human development. During this time, the growing baby depends on a carefully balanced hormonal environment. Human studies have found that pregnant women with higher levels of phthalates in their bodies may face an increased risk of preterm birth. Some studies have also reported associations with lower birth weight and other developmental concerns. Researchers are particularly interested in how phthalates may affect unborn children during critical stages of development. Because hormones play such an important role in fetal growth, any disruption during pregnancy could potentially have long-lasting effects. And this brings us to another major area of research: child development. Scientists have followed children whose mothers had higher phthalate exposure during pregnancy and compared them with children exposed to lower levels. Several studies have found associations between prenatal phthalate exposure and developmental challenges later in childhood. These include attention problems, behavioral difficulties, learning challenges, and in some cases, lower cognitive performance scores. Researchers have also observed possible links to symptoms associated with attention disorders. It is important to understand that these studies show associations rather than direct proof of cause and effect. However, the consistency of findings across multiple studies has raised concerns among scientists and public health experts. Another area where human research has found potential problems is respiratory health. Studies have reported that people with higher phthalate exposure may have a greater risk of asthma and allergic conditions. Children appear to be particularly vulnerable. Researchers have observed associations between phthalate exposure and wheezing, respiratory irritation, and increased asthma symptoms. Although perfume is not the only source of phthalates, frequent exposure to fragrance products may contribute to a person's overall exposure level. The potential health effects do not stop there. In recent years, researchers have begun investigating the relationship between phthalates and metabolic health. Several human studies have found links between higher phthalate exposure and increased body weight, larger waist circumference, insulin resistance, and a greater risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Scientists believe this may once again be connected to hormone disruption. Hormones help regulate appetite, fat storage, and energy use. When these systems are disturbed, metabolic problems may develop over time. Some studies have also examined whether phthalates influence the timing of puberty. Researchers have found associations between higher exposure and earlier signs of puberty in some children, particularly girls. Because puberty is controlled by hormones, scientists suspect that endocrine disruption may play a role in these observations. Early puberty has been associated with various long-term health and psychological challenges, making this another area of active research. More recently, scientists have begun exploring the potential cardiovascular effects of phthalates. Some studies have linked higher exposure to increased blood pressure, inflammation, and a greater risk of cardiovascular disease. Although research in this area is still developing, the findings suggest that the effects of phthalates may extend far beyond reproductive health. At this point, you might be wondering whether you should throw away every perfume bottle you own. The answer is not that simple. Most human studies examine overall phthalate exposure from many different sources, not just perfume. These chemicals can also be found in plastics, food packaging, personal care products, household items, and even indoor dust. As a result, a single spray of perfume is unlikely to cause immediate harm. The greater concern is cumulative exposure, day after day, month after month, year after year. When exposure comes from multiple products and continues over long periods, the total amount entering the body may become significant. This is why many health experts encourage people to reduce unnecessary exposure whenever possible. Fortunately, consumers today have more options than ever before. Many fragrance companies now offer phthalate-free products. Some brands have removed certain phthalates entirely, while others provide greater transparency about their ingredients. Choosing phthalate-free fragrances, using perfume in moderation, and reducing exposure from other personal care products can all help lower your overall chemical burden. So what does the science tell us? Human research has linked phthalate exposure to hormone disruption, reduced fertility, pregnancy complications, developmental concerns in children, asthma, metabolic disorders, earlier puberty, and potential cardiovascular effects. While scientists continue to study the exact level of risk posed by individual products, the evidence is strong enough to justify caution, especially for pregnant women and children. The next time you reach for your favorite perfume, remember that fragrance is more than just a scent. Hidden beneath the pleasant aroma may be chemicals that researchers are still working to fully understand. Being informed allows you to make better choices about the products you use every day. And when it comes to your health, knowledge can be just as powerful as prevention. Thank you for listening. If you found this information useful, consider sharing it with others so they can make informed decisions about the products they bring into their daily lives.